So I always like to start off talking to my guests and say, in business today, where's your stuck?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if this is a great answer, but I think we're, in a really good place. We've been working for the last 2 to 3 years on setting up our factory here and reshoring. And it's been a bit of a process. Historically, we've largely manufactured in China and contract manufactured, and now we're moving to manufacture everything ourselves. And so it's been a bit of a process to more or less create a local supply chain. And I don't know if it's necessarily been, stuck as much as figuring things out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's, I always look at kind of being stuck, which means you're close. So in any adjustment, as we're adjusting through any parts of our business to get back into alignment, it forces us to be strategic and look at things, Think Community, you've heard me talk about this, just with new eyes and new perspectives, because that's what can kind of accelerate, the newness. I love that you're talking about, hey, we're doing this, and it's just it's new for us as we build our own supply chain and start doing things ourselves. So in that, I always, as I guide my clients, I always think it's important to make sure, you're asking the questions of, if you're an outsider looking in, what's the kindergarten question that they would ask you about what you're doing? There's that old story about the truck that gets stuck under the underpass, and they bring out all these engineers, and they're like, oh, we're gonna have to take down the bridge, and some 7-year-old says, well, why don't you just let the air out of the tires? So how do you when you're going through this evolution and transformation, what's one question you ask yourself to give new perspective?
Yeah, so I guess just to give some background on our industry, the air purifier market, I would say prior to COVID, it was a very niche market. And then during COVID, it just kind of exploded, where there was more demand than supply, and a number of new entrants entered the space. And now the market's kind of back to 2019, early 2020 levels, but we have all these competitors. So it's kind of, for us, I think it's calling a spade. And it's like, this market has kind of become a commodity. And I think it's just as painful as that feels. I think it's the reality of the situation. And so we ask, how do we compete in this marketplace? Why should somebody buy from you when there's 100 other guys making something very similar? And what is that story? And part of it's our reshoring effort in figuring that out, but doing it in a way where we're cost competitive with the imports, but and ideally higher performance. And so that's really our focus. And so the question we ask is, does what we're doing take out cost, and does it improve performance? Does it create better value for the customer? Because we're kind of almost in like a razor blade kind of a market now, where it's like, you don't care what the brand is. And we were just at a conference last week in Alaska, and we spoke with a number of health experts, and they were saying, we're asking, well, what brand do you have? And they're like, I don't know, it's just this box that sits in the corner. So it's like, oh, that's painful to hear, but it's the reality of the situation, and you have to live in the reality of where the customers are.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thanks for sharing that.